All right, let's talk about one of the most mesmerizing things in human genetics: green eyes. But here's the twist. What if I told you they don't actually exist? Yeah, you heard me right. What we call green is really just a beautiful, complicated illusion. Yup, it's true. See, brown eyes are pretty straightforward. They get their color from an actual brown pigment. But green eyes, oh, they're a whole different ballgame. They are a masterclass in physics. It's basically a visual trick, a stunning illusion that's created by this delicate dance between light, pigment, and the literal structure of the iris. And they're super rare, too. We're talking only about 2% of the entire world's population has what we'd call green eyes. But this is where it gets really cool. That tiny 2%, it's not just one color. Nope. It's this incredible spectrum of completely different visual experiences. So that begs the question, right? Is green just green, or is it something more? Today, we're going to break down how it's actually at least 7 totally different phenomena that our brain just happens to interpret as green. Trust me, by the time we're done, you are never going to look at eye color the same way again. Okay, so to really get how this illusion works, we gotta look at the toolkit first. There are basically 3 key ingredients inside your iris, all working together to create what we perceive as green. First up is melanin. Now, this is the only actual color pigment we have in our eyes, and guess what? It's brown. Always brown. Just think of it like a blanket. If you have a really thick blanket of melanin, you get dark brown eyes. But a super thin, barely there blanket, well, that's the starting point for every light eye color out there, including green. All right, next on our list is lipochrome. You could call this the secret sauce for green eyes. It's this faint, kind of yellowish pigment. Now, on its own, it doesn't really create much color. Instead, it acts like a filter. It just tints the light passing through it. And how much of this stuff you have? Absolutely crucial. And last but not least, let's get a little bit of physics in here. We need to talk about the Tyndall Effect. So the front layer of your iris, it's called the stroma, is packed with these tiny little fibers. When light hits them, they scatter the short blue wavelengths of light, but they let the longer wavelengths pass right on through. Sound familiar? It should. It's the exact same reason the sky looks blue. And this scattered blue light, that's our canvas. That's what the illusion of green is painted on. Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. Here's how the magic really happens. Step 1, light enters your eye. Step 2, the Tyndall effect kicks in, and the stroma creates this beautiful blue backdrop. Step 3, that blue light then gets filtered through our secret sauce, the yellow lipochrome. And then finally, step 4, your brain takes that scattered blue light and that filtered yellow light, mixes them together, and boom, it sees green. It's literally like mixing blue and yellow paint back in elementary school art class. All right, now that we've got our toolkit, let's start building these different types of green eyes. First up, we're looking at 2 variations inspired by the natural world itself, water and earth. First, you've got the aqua, or turquoise eye. I want you to picture a glacial lake. You know how the water itself is crystal clear, but it looks that stunning blue-green color because of how light scatters through it? That's a perfect analogy here. These eyes have almost no melanin, a really strong blue light scatter, and just a tiny microscopic dusting of that yellow lipochrome. And because that balance is so delicate, the color can actually seem to shift from blue to green, depending on the light, or even the color of the shirt you're wearing. Now, on the total opposite end of that spectrum, we've got the olive green eye. So if aqua is our glacial lake, think of olive green as more like an antique bronze statue. It's this much richer, deeper, earthier kind of green. The basic recipe is the same. You've got the blue scatter and the yellow lipochrome, but now we're throwing a medium-sized blanket of brown melanin right on top. And that melanin, it kind of dampens the brightness and creates this really rich, complex color that a lot of people see as warm and trustworthy. Okay, moving on. Let's dive into 2 of the most dramatic variations. We're talking about one that shines like a pure gemstone and another that's a total chameleon, constantly changing its appearance. And here it is, the emerald green eye. This is pretty much the holy grail of the green eye world. We're talking a vivid, solid, unmistakable green. It doesn't shift, it's just green. The formula for this is like a perfect storm. You need a super strong blue scatter, a really high concentration of that yellow lipochrome, and this is the key, very, very little brown melanin to muddy it all up. The stroma is so clear that light just illuminates the pigment from within, making it glow just like a precious gemstone. And then we've got the chameleon, the hazel green eye. I love the analogy of a solar eclipse for this one. The outer ring of the iris is that true green, but right around the pupil, there's this burst of brown melanin. The magic is how dynamic it is. When your pupil gets bigger in low light or smaller in bright light, the amount of green versus brown that you can see literally changes. This is exactly why people with hazel eyes swear their eye color changes with their mood. It's not about emotion, it's just the pure mechanics of the iris showing or hiding different amounts of pigment. All right, let's take a trip to the two opposite poles of the green eye spectrum. We're going from the deep, dark shadows of the forest all the way to the light, ethereal glow of mint. And this is a fantastic comparison because you can really see how the physical structure of the iris creates two totally different effects. On one side, you've got forest green. Think of a dense pine forest right at twilight. The stroma here is thick and dense, so it absorbs more light. You combine that with a moderate amount of melanin, and you get this deep, almost brooding color. Then, on the complete other side, you have mint green. This is more like frosted glass. In this case, the stroma is loose and fine with almost no pigment at all, so it scatters pretty much all the light that hits it, creating this really pale, ethereal kind of look. And now, we've arrived at the grand finale, the rarest and maybe the most complex variant of the green eye, the one that seems to have flecks of gold in it. So the golden or amber green eye, it isn't actually amber. It's a green eye that's been sort of gilded. This happens when that yellow lipochrome pigment is deposited really heavily, but also unevenly. It forms these little clouds or rays right on top of the green base. The effect is just stunning. In the shade, the eye looks green, but step into direct sunlight and it just flares up with these incredible tones of gold and copper. It creates this metallic, almost wild look. You know, kind of like the eyes of a wolf or a cat. So why does any of this actually matter? I mean, who cares if we distinguish between mint and olive and emerald? Well, it matters because it's a powerful reminder that green is just a simple label we've slapped onto a reality that is way, way more complex. When you look into someone's eyes, you're not just seeing a color. You're seeing the density of their collagen fibers. You're seeing the exact amount of pigment that was passed down through generations from their ancestors. You are literally witnessing a story of physics, of genetics, of history, all of it written right there in the delicate architecture of the iris. So the next time you look in the mirror or you look into the eyes of someone else, I want you to look a little closer. Don't just see a color. Look for the structure. Look for how the light plays. Look for the pattern. Look for the story that's being told. What illusion are you seeing?